I saw an article the other day. It said 30 is the new 20. I thought to myself, maybe if you're a man, let me give you the summation right up front. If you're a woman and you want a family, start looking for a good guy in high school. Yes, you heard me right. For the men who want a family, 1. Increase your vegetables and protein and cut out the junk food. 2. Work on your people skills. If you want to be a smooth talker, you need to learn to talk to other guys first. I know that sounds weird, but I'll explain in detail later on, probably in another video, a long how-to video for guys who want to meet chicks. Back to the women, and I'm speaking to the younger ladies, because if you're 28 and over, then you probably know what I'm talking about. No, 30 is not the new 20. 30 is 30. You might say that 50 is the new 40, or any period after the fertility window closes is the new 10-year prior. But the important thing is that your fertility at 50 is 0, is very close to your fertility at 40, i.e. close to 0. Now, there are beautiful 30-year-olds out there, women who stay out of the sun, don't eat carbs, and focus on vegetables and protein. 30-year-old women now look pretty good. Not as good as a 20-year-old, but better than a 30-year-old from 50 years ago. So while there are some smoking hot 30-year-olds that look great on the outside, in terms of fertility, 30 years is grandmother territory, literally. A woman can get pregnant at 14 or so her kid can do the same. So by 30, yes, that is grandmother territory. I know that is an eye-opening fact for people, but culturally, we are 10,000 or 100,000 years ahead of our biology. What I mean by 60 is the new 50, or even 50 is the new 40, that is because those are post-fertility years. So in terms of fertility, it's almost 0 past 40 anyway, but the difference in fertility between 20 and 30 is massive. And if I am being honest, your 30-year-old self doesn't compare to your 20-year-old self in terms of attractiveness and sex appeal. By the time you are 20, you've been fertile for 5 to 7 years. For most of our human history, going back 10 million years since we left the trees, humans are pre-humans. We have a history of mating very young. It wasn't until recently that humans have been delaying reproduction. In many areas of the world, Central America, Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, people still start mating and reproducing very young. They may have a higher infant mortality rate, but they make up for it in sheer numbers. This sort of ties into feminism, birth control, abortion, and the declining Western birth rate. Basically, having and raising kids is a pain in the ass. What happens in a society is women get more rights, voting, marriage, divorce, birth control. They vote to destroy society, and birth rates go down. Then an actual patriarchy, like Islam, comes along, enslaves women in burqas and has sex with 9-year-old kids, and takes away the vote, the birth control, and makes you the property of your father, and after he marries you to your cousin, you become the property of your husband. It's what's happening in England, France, Germany, and Sweden. Islam is an actual brutal patriarchy, has been invited in to destroy Western Europe. Here is something to consider. If women didn't have the vote or were allowed to run for office, there's no way in hell Europe would open their borders to Islam. So the irony is, men give women more freedom, women vote in brutal patriarchs who take those rights away. It will happen over decades. Women who don't wear burqas will be, the R word I can't say on YouTube, we'll call it sexually battered. Girls who don't convert to Islam will be kidnapped into grooming gangs and be sex slaves. In Eastern Europe, the Eastern Europeans are looking at the Western Europeans in absolute disbelief. In 100 years, Western Europe will be under Sharia law and mostly made up of Pakistani and Africans, while Eastern Europe will be Eastern Europe. Back to the female biology. Many women assume their fertility at 30 is similar to their fertility at 20. It's not. It's less. Many 20, 25-year-old women who are attractive assume that they will be as attractive at 30. Here, an important distinction must be made. Women may find other 30-year-old women as attractive. Men may also rate 30-year-old women as attractive and desire to have sex with them. However, here's the difference. Men don't want to marry or reproduce with 30-year-old women. They just want a casual sexual relationship. Men find younger women more desirable as marriage and mate material. Women need to stop listening to other women's opinions about what men want. There are a few reasons why men want to mate, i.e. reproduce with younger women. Physical attractiveness, fertility, bragging rights, pair bonding potential, not getting a woman that has been ridden by so many other men. There is a perception by men that men can have multiple partners and not have pair bonding problems, but there is a belief that women with multiple partners can't pair bond. It doesn't matter if it's true, it's what men believe. In fact, none of the reasons why men feel this way matter. The only thing that matters is that men do feel this way. So I'm speaking to all women under 25. Ask yourself, do you want to have children and possibly get married? How badly do you want a family? If your number one goal in life is having a family, you can make it happen. Find a good man when you're young and start having kids. The mistake women in their 20s make is waiting for a great man. What happens is you hit 30 and you're unmarried, no kids, and you're a cat lady. I'm not trying to dunk on 30-year-old cat ladies. There are a lot of great potential moms and wives out there who missed their window of opportunity. These women have been sold a bill of goods. Feminism written by a malicious group of people who really don't want European people making babies and forming strong extended families. And extended families are so important for a successful family and a healthy nation. 30-year-olds have decreased fertility, decreased attractiveness, and they are not as desirable to their potential male partners. In general, men don't care that you have advanced degrees or are in charge of your division at work. It just doesn't matter to men. If the choice is a hot 25-year-old and the same girl but with a master's and 15 pounds, the guy will pick the skinnier, more attractive girl. You need to understand that men and women are fundamentally different. There are millions of years of evolution creating hardwired differences in the brain. Looking for Mr. Right. In your mind, you have certain expectations of Mr. Right. Let's put this in the real world. Look at 100 random guys about your age or 5 years older. Those 100 guys, they will fall in the bell curve. Some handsome, some ugly, some skinny, fat, muscular, some with health problems, some from single moms, some with strong extended families. Some will have great jobs, good jobs, in-between jobs, or in debt starting a new business. Now, whatever age you are, while you are looking at these 100 guys your age, take a good hard look at yourself. Magazines and social media sites will say, "Girl, you're fabulous. All women are beautiful. You don't need no man." We all know that all women aren't beautiful, no more than all men are beautiful. It's nonsense. It's nonsense peddled to us by idiots. Where do you fall on the spectrum? Your ideal guy might be taller than average, in good shape, good job, with married parents who also have some money. The more degrees he and his parents have, the better, because STEM degrees, JDs, Masters, PhDs all give you opportunities, and wealthy parents provide a safety net. So while you have the image of this ideal guy, who statistically is pretty rare, say he's in the top 5 to 10%, say the top 5% is the dream guy, but you'll accept the top 20%. The problem is that your competition feels the same way. All the girls are trying to land the top 20% of guys, so when everyone is in their 20s, these top guys will sleep with their pick of the girls, and ultimately some of these guys will pick girls to marry and or start families with. Now, you may want one of these top 20% dudes, but where do you rank? Women also fit on the bell curve. If you're in the top 20%, then no problem. But if you are more mundane, then you need to readjust your expectations. This is another way. You have to throw away these women's magazines, turn off Lifetime, put down the romantic books, and ask yourself, do I want a family? Honestly assess yourself. Find the best guy you can, keeping in mind that your desirability is decreasing every year. Your marketplace value is dropping while the guy's is going up. Look at pictures of your mother and father. They probably looked pretty goofy. You and your husband or partner may also look goofy. The goal isn't to look like you two can grace the cover of a magazine. The goal is to get along and raise great kids. You don't even need to get married to accomplish this goal. Your perfect guy may be a school teacher, a plumber, a bus driver. He most likely isn't going to be 6'2" and look like a model. If you don't look like a model, you probably won't get one. Keep in mind your end goals, having kids and starting a great family. If your goals are, oh well, maybe I'll have kids someday, I want to travel first, This example comes to mind because I remember talking to a 35-year-old woman at a cafe. She said she had been traveling around and now she was looking to settle down and have kids. I was polite and didn't say what I was thinking, which was, you've probably been working, and then when you had enough money saved, go traveling. So you have zero money in the bank, no assets, you're not bringing anything to the marriage, you can't help with the down payment on a house. She didn't have much experience, probably no insurance. She just isn't bringing much to the table, and most importantly, she is 35. What kind of guy is looking for, and what kind of guy is looking for her? Now, if you think, well, the kids aren't such a big deal, if it happens, okay. But no, she wanted kids, and she was a little anxious about realizing she was single at 35. I was thinking to myself, why did you wait until you're 35? She was okay looking, skinny blonde. She wasn't a knockout. She looked 35. If she was an okay-looking skinny blonde at 25 and wanted kids, she could have made it happen, as long as she set her expectations realistically. At 35, in biological terms, you are an old lady. What is in it for the guy to partner with you? What do you bring to the table? I have a bunch of travel stories where I fly around the world and have sex with a bunch of dudes. A guy flying around the world having sex with foreign thoughts is cool. But when a woman does it, it just doesn't translate. Guys don't necessarily judge women like that, but they just aren't interested. Let me put it in another perspective. What if you meet a guy who's also 35? He has been doing the same as you, traveling, drinking beers, and getting laid. He also doesn't have a pot to piss in. You meet him, you think he's awesome, but he is in the same boat as you, broke. You have two 35-year-old world travelers with no assets. If she's being honest, this isn't the guy she's looking for. She's looking for a guy maybe 35, 45 who can support her while she has a couple of kids. So what's in it for this 35 to 45-year-old guy who has a decent job, some money in the bank? What's in it for the guy to marry you? You're old and just okay looking. We had an honest conversation, and she must have understood this because she was frankly nervous. She knew the odds were against her. The facts, reality was against her. She wanted kids. She needs a guy with resources to provide for her and her kids. The problem was she was 35 and just looked okay. Now, saying these things aren't politically correct. A woman is a queen. She should be able to travel until 35, then marry a lawyer and live in a beautiful house. Yes, queen slay. The reality is 35 is 10 years too late. The woman's magazines can't force the doctor or lawyer to marry a 35-year-old woman. The successful 35-year-old guy is looking for a 27-year-old who's ready to have kids. Women have a much narrower window of opportunity than men. A woman's peak market value is from puberty to maybe 23. Just like a 25-year-old guy working retail can't marry a supermodel, a 35-year-old woman can't marry a lawyer. Men understand these rules. Women don't understand these rules as well. Well, they understand them when they're about 28, and that's usually right on the verge of being too late. A 25-year-old guy working retail might even have more market value than a 35-year-old average-looking woman because the guy has potential. Maybe he'll move up to management or start a side hustle. A 35-year-old woman is on the downward slope of fertility and physical attractiveness. Let me sum this up. If you're a woman who wants a husband and children, or even just a boyfriend and children, start looking for a good guy early. Find a guy who shares your religious beliefs, or at least your morals and ethics. The grass isn't greener. You just need a decent guy. You don't need Prince Charming. Don't believe these women's magazines that tell you to put off having kids. These magazines are written by 30-year-old cat ladies with an evil agenda. In fact, take a look at the authors of those articles and take a look at their social media. If you want a man and kids, you can make it happen, but it has to be priority number one. And you have to strike while the iron is hot. You'll never be younger than you are right now. There will never be a perfect time to start a family. Anyway, leave a like and a comment and sub if you aren't already.